Hi y'all, what's up? It's 6:30 in the morning. It's got school tomorrow. Finally, stopped doing the work shit for a while now, and to be honest with you, I don't like my job already. I work at a gas station on the side, other than school, and I don't like it. I think anyone with a job like that can relate because there's a lot of annoying people, stuff like that. And today I decided it would be a great idea to stay up. Um, and I know I'm gonna be really miserable by the end of today. Well, I wouldn't say miserable. I just feel really tired, and I'm gonna go to bed, and I'm gonna wake up at like 5 in the morning, and it's gonna feel really good. So there's that. Um, and I guess I kind of want to talk about you know mental health once again because this is honestly kind of a thing that every so often it pops up in my head. Um, just mental health. Um, and I look at all these art forms and shit. Like you'll look at like TV shows and music and shit like that, and you'll notice that people just um try to prove a point, and they try to symbolize a depression or like a loneliness. And I've already mentioned in the last video, I've always felt really lonely. Even though, let me tell you guys something. I've had friends. I have many friends. I have kind of friends. Like 50% friends, kind of thing, where they're just kind of, hey, what's up? I have genuine, deep connections with people. My good old buddy Matthew. He's been my buddy since second grade, first grade ish. Also, my buddy Luke. He's been around me since kindergarten, and I didn't really talk to him much, but we did talk every so often. Look at me now. Me and him are like the best of buddies. Um, and even then, I can have like the best of friends and shit like that. I have buddy Levi. He's like best buddy. Avern, my best buddy here. Like we got all these different people. We got these deep connections with people, and you still feel lonely on the inside. Um, and I'm not trying to sound deep or anything, but it is kind of deep in a way because I wanted to talk about it. Um, a lot of times when I feel lonely, I kind of resort to my current obsession, which I'm not going to go into detail. But if you are probably one of my best buddies, you probably know what I'm talking about. I ended up indulging in that obsession a lot, and it's um pretty unhealthy. And this is the worst part about it, is that I know it's going to end horribly for me. I absolutely know it is. I am absolutely very confident. I am very well aware of the consequences of it, and the consequences of my on my mental health, that it will happen once it actually goes through. And it actually ends the way I know it is going to be. It could be a lot worse though. Um, I know for a fact that it will end horribly, and that's the worst part about it, is that I still indulge in it because if you know an addiction, you know you can't stop it just like that. Um, and honestly, people will tell me you gotta stop, bro. You gotta stop, and I'll be like, yeah, I know, and it's very irritating when I get told that a lot. Extremely irritating, because it's like you can't just stop like that. I think you need to reach. I'm not sure. I think you need to reach like a certain low point in your life. I've done this many times though. You need to reach a really low point in your life, and for my homies who are also going through problems like this and obsessions and stuff, you have to reach a certain low point in your life where you just kind of have to sit there and think, dude, my life's got to change, otherwise I'm going to be completely screwed for the rest of my life. That's like the kind of thing that goes on in someone's mind whenever they go through something like that, because it's like, it's bad, it's a bad thing, but you just can't help it. You just go through that kind of stuff. For what it's worth, I guess it replaced another addiction of mine. I guess it replaced that, but it at what cost? You know what I mean? Because I know if that goes away, then I'm just gonna go revert back to the old addiction. Um, People go through that kind of stuff, I think, and I recognize this at work too. Um, I would have guys come in and they would get alcohol and cigarettes and stuff, and they would say they got back onto it after they broke up with their wife or something like that, or like their ex. Um, and it just kind of made me think that like connections are extremely strong with people, and it really makes people kind of um change just for the sake of the other person. And I think that that really sucks, because with people you don't really like you don't really know what's going on in their head. It's like I don't really know how to explain it, because it's like people, they just kind of go through a lot, and some people help them through a lot, and they have that one connection where they can really just be like, yes, I got a connection, I got someone who cares about me, and someone who I love very much, and stuff like that. And I'll be seeing people on social media and stuff. I'll be seeing them, and they'll just be like progressing through life in such a fast way, and they'll be having all this shit going on in their life that's just great, and so much shit's going on. I'm just like, my life is fucking slow, you know. I remember my first, I guess, relationship. I kind of sped things up a lot, and I ended up not paying attention to her all that much, and it ended pretty horribly, and it had a great mental effect on me, because it kind of made me degrade myself a little bit, and it was very bad for me. And so I moved on to the next person and to the next person, and it's been a very big issue. But here we are now. Obviously, I don't really know what else to say. Honestly, I mean, like, seriously, this is something that just kind of happens, and it's not just like relationships and connections and all that. It's also just general life. People who are really interested in stuff. Like, I've been always interested in music and shit like that. I've always talked about music, and you know, I'd never really done much to. I've always felt like I've never really done much to go out there and do stuff and go forward. And many people say that I'm going in the right direction. You're doing great, man. You keep going. And I don't feel like that. I feel like I'm doing the same shit every single day, just kind of hoping something changes. And some people out there can go, yo, you're a loser because you just sit around and you have this whole hopeless attitude. But don't get me wrong. There's a lot of hopeful moments. You sometimes, the worst part about it is that you feel happy sometimes. You feel really happy, and it's like it's just a feeling, but it is a feeling, and it's there, and you don't want it to be there. So you kind of think about it a lot, and you're just like, why is that there? And then happiness comes around. You're just like, yes, I would like this feeling a lot more. Maybe life isn't so bad after all. Maybe I can live like this forever. And then the next day you just feel like shit once again. It it's a horrible, horrible just mind fuck. It's awful, but it happens. Um, and For people who go through stuff like that, I honestly I hope y'all kind of get through that, because life is kind of really shit now. Um, in life, there's so many different things. Um, and yeah, there's just so many people make fun of each other, and they don't really see what people go through. So I would say kind of watch out when you're talking to people, and watch out for people. Just be there and be like, "Yo, what's up?" If you need a you need anything, call me. You know what I'm saying? Be like that kind of friend. If you need anything, just talk to me. I'll make sure to have it happen. Um, I don't really need a a master class or anything like that, because I know they're gonna try and grift me over that, and it's all these grifters and shit, and they act like they know anything about mental health and men and all that shit, and they just act like they just know shit, and it's like, dude, you don't know what I go through. You don't even know. You were growing up, and you act like you know all this shit, and you act like all this stuff, and you're like a big old buff guy, and you talk about other people and all that stuff, make yourself feel better, but in reality, your life is just as dull as mine, and it will always be that way unless you start taking care of your people. And so I honestly I don't even know. So that's pretty much, I don't know. That's all I really have to say, to be honest with you.